Hey folks, welcome to Set Apart Homestead. So I haven't posted in a while, I know. Sorry about that. I've been going through some stuff in my life and just wasn't able to get a video out like I wanted to, but also, which kind of compounded the video making process. About a week ago now, a week ago, we had some storms and tornadoes in the area, and while they didn't directly affect me here, they kind of messed with the cell phone towers in the area, and so the cellular internet quality has been pretty crummy since then. I don't know if maybe it moved the antenna just a little bit or something. You know, it didn't knock the tower down, but I know a tornado went by fairly close to that antenna, so it's possible that, you know, the antenna was moved a little bit or something like that. So it's been kind of down at times and not real good quality. So it made me think about how the internet affects us and what we do when we don't have the internet. And I know that many of you are going to say, oh, well, you know, I can do without the internet. I just get on here to play around, and it doesn't, you know, affect and control my life and dominate my life. And that's probably true compared to many people in America today. But you're obviously using the internet because you're watching this video. And I think that the internet plays a bigger role in our life, directly and indirectly, than we realize. And if the internet goes down, how does that affect us? Now, when I'm talking about it going down, it could be for many reasons. It doesn't have to be the apocalypse. It could be a storm that, you know, like in my situation. Maybe you weren't able to pay, you know, your internet bills. Maybe it's, you know, ice storms, things like that. And of course, it could be all the way up to something big where there's some type of, you know, big disaster that causes the internet itself to just collapse. And I think it's something that we all should sit back and kind of think about. Think about how the internet affects us in our lives. Do we pay our bills online? Do we manage our money online? The amount of communicating that we do with each other now that's done online. And then, of course, when we talk about the internet being down, we probably should also include the, you know, phone service, because a lot of times it's connected. You know, if you're getting online is dependent upon your cell phone, then it's possible that your, you know, cellular service isn't going to work too if the internet's down. Same way within your home. So those two kind of go together. I know not always. You know, you can have phone service and not have internet service, and vice versa, but let's just kind of look at both of them together. Again, I get it. You know, a lot of you guys and gals out there, you know, whether you live in the city or live in the middle of nowhere, you're like, you know, the internet's just kind of a toy for me. You know, I'm not one of these little zombies that walks around like this all the time. And I don't either. So I understand that. But I do think it plays a bigger role. Directly, like I've mentioned already, you know, people pay their bills online. People manage their accounts online. If the internet outage is greater than just you, it could affect you going to an ATM and withdrawing cash. There are, you know, bigger, broader things, indirect things that could affect services of, you know, maybe you get goods and services and the internet affects them. It can affect, you know, hospitals, banks, things like that the internet affects nearly everything. And I think a lot of times we forget and don't really think about it because it happens and, you know, you don't see it, of how much the internet is involved in our daily lives. And so I would encourage all of you to kind of set back and really try to think, you know, okay, what in my life is really dependent directly and indirectly on the internet? And is it dependent upon me having the internet and then dependent upon the internet existing? Because there's two different things. The internet can still exist and you just lose service. And then, of course, there's the potential for the internet itself to go down. Communication is also something very important. I think most people nowadays, that's their number one main source of communicating. I actually sent a letter the other day, a handwritten letter to someone. And I will admit that's the first time I have done a handwritten letter in the mail in probably years. It's just something we don't do. And even talking on the phone, so many people don't talk on the phone anymore. They use the internet. They message people, email people. Even email is becoming archaic. We message people, and we communicate through social media with our friends and families all over the place, and that's how we keep up with things. And if that was taken away from you, how does that affect you being able to communicate? It's something that we should think about. There's also another thing. I've talked about this on this channel before. How we use the internet to get the information and knowledge that we need. And I'm not, there's two kind of things there. Number one, information, meaning like news, but then knowledge of how to do things. I'm a big proponent of having physical books, physical information, not digital information. I'm big on that because if you're getting your information from the internet, that can be taken away. That you can lose that, whether through, your phone not working, or your internet getting shut off, or just something happening in the internet's, no longer working the way it is. And then in a digital sense, even if you're saving the information on a computer or a phone, there's always chances for files to get corrupted, equipment to fail, all sorts of variables that could prevent you from getting to that information. So I'm really big on having actual books, printing off information, putting it in binders, keeping that. I don't like depending on a system that has potential failures. So many, potential failures. Whereas, having a book, next to the house burning down, it's kind of hard for that to not work for me. Just picking up a book and reading it. But I think that the internet as a whole, it affects us a lot more than we want to admit. And I'm not even talking about whether the internet's good or bad. We're not going to get into that in this video. But I think that it affects us so much, it's especially indirectly. So much of our whole system around us, whether it be local, all the way up to a national, international level, shipping, travel, government, everything is controlled and dependent, highly dependent upon the internet. So when you're prepping, when you're working on your plan for how to get through, he can be way over there, and I turn this thing on and it's like he comes over here to get his little 2 cents in. Anyways, when you're working on your plan of like, hey, how do we get through a snowstorm? How do we get through an ice storm? How do we get through a tornado? What do we do, about all these different things? You need to also, evaluate your dependency on internet and then the things around it, technology, the phone, your cell phone, computers, things like that you're dependent upon. And we all have our different level of dependency on these things. And you're going to have to kind of dig a little bit and figure out, okay, really how dependent am I? We're not talking about not being able to get on Facebook and post, that awesome looking meal that you had for dinner. We're talking about communication, finances, medical. Maybe some of you, have medical problems and you're dependent upon electronic devices to, provide, things for you, like say a diabetic pump or different things like that. So really evaluate your dependency on internet and then upon the electronic devices that kind of go with the internet, whether it's phones, computers, that sort of thing. And then how, outside your life, your indirect dependency on the internet. And then try to work out ways to do that, how to get around that, how to, I'm not saying get it out of your life, but what do you do when it's down? How do you communicate with people that you really feel you need to and want to communicate with if you don't have internet service or if you don't have cell service? Do you even know phone numbers? This is something I was thinking the other day. Even as a kid growing up, we knew certain phone numbers, your house phone, maybe your dad or mom's work phone, maybe your grandparents' phone number. These were numbers that we memorized because we didn't have them in a phone where you can just kind of, scroll down and hit the button. We actually had to dial. We even had some of those kind of dials that, the round ones, those rotary dial phones. Nowadays, people don't even remember phone numbers because most of the time you call by scrolling down on your little screen and clicking, the dial button, and you don't even know the phone number. So if you're out somewhere, you break down, you get stranded, your phone dies, all those numbers are in there. Who do you call? Do you know those phone numbers? Do you have them written down? Do you have them, at least a few of them, memorized? These are things that as people of the preparedness mindset, we need to realize how dependent we have become on a system of, high, technology, cell phones, internet, that sort of thing, of how we've become dependent upon it. And if it was taken away from us for whatever reason, it could be something as simple as you dropped your phone in the toilet, all the way up to poof, the grid goes down. I mean, there's lots of different reasons why you would be without a cell phone, or without the internet. And how dependent we have become on it. And I think for most of us, especially the fact that you're online now watching this video, I think we would, after evaluating that, we would realize that, wow, we're more dependent than we thought we were. And so, try to figure out ways in your life to lessen that dependency. How to access your funds in your account, how to pay a bill, how to communicate with people, other things, of course. There's many other things, but these are just a few that you need to kind of start thinking about in your head of how to handle if you're without internet. So that's my word for the day, is how to live in a world without the internet, because we're all so plugged into the matrix that you unplug people, and we don't even know how to exist anymore. At least many people do. So out here in the woods, there's not good internet service anyways. There are no options to have really good internet service. There's very few options to have internet anyways, and what there are, they're very poor options and low quality, and so you just learn to kind of live without it, or live with a very poor facsimile of what internet is for most people. So in your life, evaluate, how connected am I to the internet? How dependent am I on the internet and cell phones and cellular technology? And what am I going to do if I don't have it, for a short period of time or a long period of time? All right. Thank you all for watching. Ooh, make the camera shake. And I'll catch y'all in the next video.